Action! Tad Hargrave.
Good to see you, Brett.
Good to see you too in this small little awkward couch here. Thanks for coming to Salt Spring Island today.
Oh man, it's good to be here.
And for all of you out there in watcher and listener land today, we're going to talk about everything Mighty Networks communities. This is the 3-year check-in on how the marketing for Hippies membership has been going, what lessons you've learned, what are you doing for marketing, what are you finding has worked, hasn't worked, what things have you had to pivot and change, all the things. So anybody out there who is building a Mighty network, who's building an online community, who's been thinking about it, who says this is the year you're going to create your subscription or membership, Majik Media right now, we're building our 16th, 17th, and 18th Mighty Network communities over the last 4 or 5 years. So I'll try and chime in certain points, and I'm sure we're all going to go on a little 30 to 45 minute adventure of learning about how to make awesome communities. So 3 years, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
For somebody who had so much resistance to building
Yes, I did.
an online community, it seems to be going pretty good.
Yeah, it went from something that, well, I thought I'd probably do one day to my main thing. It's my main source of income. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And before you had an online community space, what was your main source of income? What were you doing?
I had a mentorship program where I was charging people $400 US a month for a group of 12 doing deeper coaching. So, I mean, I suppose context financially, of course, that $400 US. So when it was sold out, that was $6,000 a month US that I was making. And now it's more like 30, 40 grand a month. Or yeah, somewhere in there.
Dude.
Yeah.
See, that's amazing. So we're going to talk about some of the secrets to that success, because if I remember correctly, when you launched the community, the goal was, I think, 150, and we hit like a few over 150. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And so you've grown it from that 150 members. Like, you must have somewhere around a few hundred-ish per month.
I do. This is part of our challenge because we're not using the Mighty Networks payment system.
Yeah,
we're using Thrivecart. So when we've got a bunch of comps, and
yeah.
So, but it's it's I think over 300 members.
Amazing. Yeah. I could probably quickly show you in Thrivecart how to tally that up.
I would be thrilled if you could.
We'll save that for later.
Okay.
So let's just kind of talk general broad strokes. How are you feeling 3 years in from having the community? What's the overall feeling for you?
It's so good. I mean, it's yeah, it's just become such a core part of my business, core part of my life. It's hard to imagine not having the membership. And I mean, as we'll get into, it's just also gotten clearer, cleaner, simpler as it's gone. We all sorts of things looking back that it's might have done different. Like, one thing, I think if I were to do something different, I wouldn't have given away so many lifetime things. I probably would have done, was it 100, 150 lifetime memberships?
Yeah.
Well, we also started with 2 tiers, which we got rid of just in this last year. We finally phased out the lower tier. So now it's just one level, $100 a month, which feels good.
Why, just for people who are like, I'm going to do 2-tiered membership, why did you limit? I also eliminated multi-tiers. So what was your reason?
These things seem like it wouldn't complicate anything that much, but it becomes like a whole other track to worry about, to think about. And then you suddenly need more buttons in Thrivecart. So right now we've got one button. You pay for the membership, there's that button. But as soon as you have 2 tiers, well, no, there's 2 buttons. But actually, it's not just 2 buttons. You have 4 buttons, because now you've got an upgrade and a downgrade button that people click. So if you want to know how many members you have, you've got 4 different things to go into and look at. And it just became, there were all these little technical frictions, and people in the, foundation level wanting more than they were getting. I don't know, it just became so confusing on what's included and what, and it just realized, and it made the sales letter, as I'm remembering now, a little more confusing.
Yeah,
there are these 2 levels, and what's included here, what's included there. Um, and so it wasn't quite as easy to make the case what we were promoting. Because and then the other reason was I started to realize that a lot of the stuff that was in the foundation level was actually available for free. Well, okay, all the videos are there on YouTube. They're not quite as well organized. I'd released the starter kit, which was one of the main things I was offering internally. So I was like, this is insane. People
Yeah.
are paying for this thing that they could just get for free.
Hmm.
And nobody ever, called us out on it or named it. But it was just within a few months, it's like, we have to start phasing this out because, yeah, it's no good. And I also, for me, it was, I really wanted to work with people who had skin in the game. And if they couldn't afford 100 US a month, it just meant that their business, either they weren't sold enough on me, which is fine, or they weren't at a stage in business that was developed enough that I would actually want to work with them.
Yeah.
And I thought I'll just give away all the stuff that's in foundations. I can just give that away for free as the kind of lead magnet and be really generous up front. And then so when you're ready, this is what it costs. It's very simple, it's very clean. And then instead of standing up in front of a crowd and saying, well, I've got a membership and there's actually 2 tiers, and then this tier, you've got this and this. Oh, wait, what else is included? Okay, but in the full tier, there's a lot more. And but and it gets it's just, I've got a membership, everything's there. It's $100. The pitch is much cleaner and simpler.
Yeah. Yeah. I found the all-inclusive models a lot easier for people to just be like, okay, that's what I'm doing. I've had it before where it was like the low tier and then the high tier gets all the coaching stuff, like the masterminds and that. I've tried freemium models. I've tried the low paid pricing models. I mean, all of them. I feel like with our Majik Mind, it finally last year landed. I'm like, this feels really good in my being. And pricing's a funny thing.
And it's just the confused mind says no.
Yeah.
That if you're trying to articulate it, and there's so many different ways it could go, so many different prices, so many different levels of access of things, I think people just get confused.
Yeah.
But the reason for me of limiting the lifetime members is the benefit of inviting people in as lifetime members in the beginning is you kind of bring in all the ringers, the people who are your super fans.
Yeah.
And you've got a nice base of support of people who just love you and love what you're up to.
And they're the culture creators that really get it started.
Which is so nice.
Yeah.
And they're also the people who would probably continue to pay you month after month. And so, and the surprise when we launched it, it made so much money that my tax bill the next year was so high because it was just all this money without the correlate expenses. So it's something to think about of if you're launching a membership. If you do the lifetime members, it means you're going to get a lot of money all at once. And just, are you prepared for that tax wise? That huge, because you could make $100,000 suddenly right there. But depending where you live, a third of that could be taxed. And if you're not prepared for that, because it could put you in a whole other tax bracket as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that note, a couple other ways that we've experimented, because we've had people that we've worked with like, I don't want to do lifetime access. That's just scary or feels wrong. So we're like, okay, so 2 other ways that we've done it is like a massive discount if they commit to the full first year.
Okay.
So it could be anywhere from 30 to 50% off their first year if they commit for a full year. And then their funding cycle goes back to the regular price. Another one is 2 years for the price of 1 year. There's another way that we've seen it work. But doing something straight out of the gate, we used to always do lifetime access because it was the culture creator and it would be a massive boost of income because people would jump in, and we saw it again and again and again with the communities we launched. Is like, it really spiked the sales large. And I'm sure when you looked at the numbers, you're like, this is awesome. And then you get the tax bill, it's like, this is less awesome.
But I would say the thing is, if you're it's probably when you launch a membership, there are going to be a bunch of upfront expenses. You may just want to make sure you have money set aside to pay the people you hire to help you manage it, which, of course I would urge. There's all the money spent to build it that you may be paying to people like Bradley or yourself or somebody you hire to do it. And so then that's just a lot of money. So I think offering some deal where you get a big influx of cash can then just equalize that out.
Yeah.
And maybe give you a little bit of extra money. But I think it's worth doing the math on what are our expenses going to be to build this? How much do we want saved? And then there's no need to be greedy. It's like, okay, the rest of the money will come over time in the monthly payments.
Yeah.
So that's something I probably would shift. If I were to launch another membership, I would offer some either lifetime or a full year at a discount or 2 for 1. I like, and but then ideally they go back to paying on a monthly basis, because those are the people, if they want to spend $1,000 for a lifetime, they love you.
Yeah.
They're into you.
Yeah.
The and But of course, in the early days, I think there's so much experimenting, both in terms of the marketing, but also the structure. What do you do? How often do you do it in the membership? What kinds of calls? What kinds of programs? What kinds of services are you offering within the membership? And I think it's fine that the first year, so there's a kind of freewheeling. You're trying a bunch of stuff. For example, in our membership, we have a bunch of member-led calls. I don't lead them. I'm not even there for them. Some of them I've literally never been to, because members are leading them. They're excited about it. They had the idea. And so those have been things like a niching practice, where people get together, practice their niche, do a little niching exercise, a point of view practice. We've had a community collaboration call where people just got together and jammed. We've had co-working sessions. We have had copy clinics or collabs where people get together, work on their sales copy. Content creation jams. There's a call where it's people just spend 1 hour focusing on getting clients. We've tried a bunch of things. So first of all, I think it's good to you try a bunch of things to see what works, what do people respond to, what feels good. But then one of the dangers in these memberships is then they can become overwhelming. People go into the events tab and there's too many events, and becomes overwhelming. So then it's figuring out how often to do these things. What's the right rhythm? So we had a call in the beginning. I want to do it once a week, which was this client catalyst call. Spend 1 hour just focus on getting clients, but the numbers were so low, and sometimes nobody would show up. So now I'm going to do it once a quarter, but we'll make a really big deal of it and get more people there. And the niching thing was once a week, but now it's going to go to every once a month, but in balance with some calls that I'm leading once a month. So I'll do a call, 2 weeks later there'll be a practice, call, practice, call, practice. So we're trying to figure out a rhythm that's a nice balance that gives spaciousness, because more is not always better in these things. If you start doing member-led calls, we basically, if they're leading a call that's fairly regular, that's weekly or monthly, they just earn the membership for free. That's just the easy. We waive the fee, they're in, they lead the call, no problem. But I've had a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to do a weekly call on the inner work. I'd like to do a weekly call on this or a monthly call on this. And you could just open the doors, but then people are going to get so swamped and they may miss the most important things that you have to offer. So the thing that we actually just came up with is, there's that old time management metaphor about the guy who has a jar and he fills it with big stones. Says, is it full? Yeah, you can't get any more big stones. He pours pebbles in. Okay, is it full? Yeah, it's full now. And then he gets sand in, shakes it in. Is it full? Oh, it's definitely full now. The water goes in, and then he says, what's the point of this metaphor? And people say, wow, you can fit a lot more in a jar than you think you could. Like, you could fit a lot more in a week of your life than you think you could. And he said, no, that's not the point. The point is, if I hadn't put the big rocks in first, they never would have gotten there. So similar thing with the membership. You've got to make sure the big rocks are in first and that they're featured properly. There's got to be some white space around it. There's got to be some attention drawn to it. Because if you send out a newsletter with your membership, which I'd also recommend, you send out a weekly, here's what's coming up. If you send out something like that and it's like, hey, here's what's coming up, 100 things in the next month, people are just going to get so swamped. So we experimented a lot the first few years, and we have now trimmed it way, way, way down, where there are very few weekly calls. Mostly it's monthly calls, or quarterly. There's a weekly call with me, every once in a while a bonus call with me. Then there are the calls based in the semesters. So we have 4 semesters every year. There'll be a call every 2 weeks with me, and in between those are practice calls. Yeah,
where they're doing some work.
Yeah. But that to me, that's primary, and that's why people are joining. And we don't want people distracted, because then they're just overwhelmed, they don't get any results, and they leave dissatisfied. So less is often more, is what I'm learning with the memberships. It's not that I couldn't do more. I could do a call out to my members and say, who wants to take on another call? and I could have 3 calls a day
Mm-hmm.
happening, and it would be more, and it would mean less people per call because people can only Zoom so much, and it would mean then also they're not probably coming to the most important things that have a sequence to them, etc. So less is more.
Yeah. Let's just jam about, because you and I have different models. With you have your quarterly main trainings that you're doing. I'm doing a lot of workshops and kind of bigger trainings as well. For mine, like I have a workshop coming up this week around building your freedom map, scheduling your success. For non-members, they can pay $100 and join it. Otherwise, it's included in the membership. I've got a training coming up later this month around developing your group coaching program, which is a $1,000 program, or you can just pay for the Magic Mind membership and it's included in that. I'm also experimenting with a model for that one, just total side conversation around the honor system.
Okay.
So as you know, like we've done, Majik Media has been doing revenue share projects for a lot of years on how we partner with people. So this is an experiment where people can pay the $1,000, or if that's too much and they can't afford the $247 a month, they can pay $300 down, and then 20% of the revenue that I help them generate by going through the program. Which if they make $100,000, I win and they're going to win. So that's an experiment. And there's been quite a few people that have started to do the honor system one. So I'm curious to see how that pans out in the end. And I'm sure I'll do a case study about it. But yours is different. Your quarterly programs, how are you doing that right now? What's the structure for how people can join your quarterly trainings?
Let's do the screen share here.
Sure. This one?
No, the sales letter.
I think it's in the same window, right?
Yeah, right here, right there.
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, this is the general outline of it. We have 4 semesters, and then as you can see, the winter. And by the way, we had to change it. These are the little things you learn. It was initially semester 1, 2, 3, 4, but then it'd be the hub market, or the, let's say, business model one, which was semester number 3. And people say, "Oh, I'll wait till semester 1 to join," as if there was an order, like you had to start with one, and it isn't that way,
Yeah.
So we renamed it to winter, spring, summer, autumn, that it's a cycle, because otherwise, yeah, people were saying they'd wait until January, and there's just no reason for it.
Yeah.
So little thing, but so each of them, as you can see, is 3 months long. The structure of it is there's a call every 2 weeks with me over the time. Then at the end of it, there's a deep dive call, which is a 3-hour wrap everything up thing, which I do recommend, that when people join, they're joining to get a particular result. And my semesters are probably a little broader than a semester could be, or a program could be. It's even better if the program has a really specific, like Brad's got his program on the signature workshop, and at the end you have a signature workshop. None of my semesters really promise that kind of a practical, your homepage is done, we've got your bio written, we've got you booked on podcasts. So it's not as ideal in that way, but still I think it's good to think, okay, at the end of the semester, how do we end strong, and how do we just tie a little string around the bouquet of everything we learned, bring it together in some way that gives them next steps, that gives them the sense of completion. Yeah, and then you can see the black circle with the arrow in the center, and that's the niche arc. And so this is a year-long arc because, again, experimenting a lot. I've experimented with niche projects and courses more than anything. I've written ebooks about it. I've done webinars about it. I had a 30-day program on it, a 90-day program. I started a whole website, nichingspiral.com, which is now defunct. Then I finally moved everything into the membership, and there wasn't even a semester for it, even though it's such a core thing. And I kept thinking, how do I do this? Because it's not, I found even 90 days was a little too short. 90 days felt tight with the amount of depth that people often need to go to. It's in a group program, and one-on-one we can make a lot of progress in an hour when I do puttering sessions, but group, it's a different beast. So I thought, what if I did it over a year, and then that's also an incentive for people to stick around in the membership longer, because there's this whole arc. They could do a year-long thing around niching. So that's a monthly call with me, and then 2 weeks later there'd be a practice call, then a call with me, so every 2 weeks. So as you can see there, that's the main rhythm. And then all the other member-led calls or little webinars are sort of on top of that. But this is really the focus. And in terms of marketing, these are all also the on-ramps.
Yeah.
So leading up to, so I've been working with Ross O'Loughlin, conversionengineering.co, who I recommend. And so when the semester is coming up, there's a few things I often do. The most important is I just send an email to my list saying, hey, we got a semester, we're getting a group of entrepreneurs together who are interested in working on developing their and honing their point of view, thought leadership, really taking some time to think that through. This could be for you if there's some kind of simple filtering things. And if this seems like it's fit for you, just click reply, let me know. And that we have a little email conversation to see if it's a fit, which has been nice because I have told a lot of people no. They've emailed me and I said, this is not the best thing for you. Or it might be, you can try. And some of them I'll just say, look, it might be, I don't know for sure in your situation, but if it doesn't work, I'll just refund you. Feel free to give it a try. Let's just see how it goes. But there's a bit of a conversation. I also do a webinar on the topic. And in the webinar, there's a shameless plug for that semester. And then just for fun, because I enjoy it and I get to learn something too, I've been doing these roundtables where I get together a group of my favorite colleagues on that topic. They get 10 minutes each to just share one practical, like, here for point of view marketing, here's my favorite exercise around point of view marketing, or here's my favorite example. They just get 10 minutes to share whatever they want to share that'll be useful. So there's 3 little on-ramps. Of course, there's a reminder email. And so every semester we've been getting anywhere between, let's say, 30 to 60 people on average joining the membership for those semesters. So it's not, since we launched the membership in December 2020, I haven't actually done June that year, we did one more intake, but otherwise we didn't, I haven't emailed my list about it. It's all been join for this semester, not, hey, here's the membership. And at some point this year, once I feel like I've got it refined in the way I want it to be, I will be doing another email and campaign of just, hey, yes, there are semesters, but there's also a membership you might just want to join for everything that's in it. It's all my content, $100.
Yeah.
And again, just the simple $100, it's everything. Very easy for people to understand.
I also just want to say for people to receive that permission is like, you're on year 3. This is like when you're building an online community, a membership, a space, one, it's a labor of love. Expect it to be a long game. You don't build an online community for pure passive income. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is connection. It's providing value. It's bringing all your people together so they can connect with each other. There's also giving yourself permission for a lot of experimentation. As you said, it's like some things you're going to lead with, different events that you're going to be doing regularly, different types of content, workshops, trainings, etc. Some of them are going to have a lot of energy around them. Those are the ones to keep going with. Other ones, as Tad said, is like, if it's not working, if people aren't showing up, let people know you're thinking about letting it go. You can also, in Mighty Networks, there's the ask a question feature. Ask at least one question a week. One of the questions I'm asking today is like, what skills do you want to learn as an entrepreneur and a creator this year, so that we can cater content and curate different guests to come in and help teach those different skills for people. So, part of the community, which is different than, say, running a newsletter, a really specific course, is you're listening to your people, you're watching how they're showing up and engaging, and then you're trying to create an experience that really gets them to show up. And Tad's on year 3, and as he said, it's still not perfect the way he wants it designed. You're always working on it and tweaking and refining and moving things around. So just know that you can launch a community. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a content library of 500 different articles and courses and all that. You can literally, my wife is launching one next month, and it's going to be a build as she goes. There's going to be some specific rhythms every month, and the content library will build over time. You don't have to have that before you go live. You just have to be willing to experiment, communicate, and listen, and then you and your members will grow this thing together based on the needs and desires of the community.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts on this. One is track attendance. make sure you're tracking how many, even if it's member-led calls, ask the people who are leading it to be tracking, to report to you how many people came, because it's very easy to lose track of that. And you think, oh, my membership's great. You know, we have all these calls happening all the time. And then if you were to check the numbers, you know, you can do this on Zoom if you're using that, or members, the people leading it can just write it down. You'll see, oh, there are 2 people at each of these. And you're spreading yourself so thin, and you're working so hard then to replace, oh God, this person can't do it anymore. We have to find somebody to do you? Or was that something that member was excited to lead, and maybe you can just let it go? Your members might get cranky. Oh no, but we love this call. And it's good to remind your members you can keep doing that outside of the membership on your own, but we don't need to clog the schedule with something where it's only the same 6 or 7 people coming every single week. That's a pod that they could absolutely just keep going. They don't need an infrastructure of a membership to keep it going. So if you start to see that, it's like it's always the same people. Nobody new is trying it out. There's not a lot of appeal. And I would tell members frequently, it's like, yeah, use it or lose it. And it's not that they need to. It's just if you're not using it, that tells us you don't want it. So we're going to find something that you want. But if you do want it, don't just assume it's going to be there if nobody shows up. That's the metric that we're using. And you know, the thing with a membership is on the financial side, on the money making side of it, of course, the biggest, there's a few levers. One, how many people are joining, but the bigger lever is how long are they staying. And if they stick around for 1 month, okay, so it's $100 a month, and you get 10 people, and they stick around for 1 month. Well, then you made $1,000 that month, and that's it. And over the year, you know, $1,000 period. But if we could say, okay, same 10 people, but we figured out a way for them to stick around 3 months, you've now made $3,000. You've made 3 times the amount of money, et cetera, the same number. And if we could get them to say 12 months. So this is really important, is, you know, you can track these numbers, usually like in ThriveCard, it'll tell us on average. So it used to be, I think, 4.5 months. Now it's up to 4.9 months that on average people stick around for. So if that can be increased, and the thing that increases it is delivering more value, clarifying, simplifying, you know, the tracks that people are on. This was feedback that we got, that part of the overwhelm is there's so much stuff in it, but part of it is also not knowing what to do. Oh, this is something I haven't told you about that we're thinking about doing is, so of course, if they join for a semester, there's a very easy track. Just show up to the calls,
Yeah,
ignore everything else, just do this. But also realizing we can customize a track, like, oh, you're struggling with your niche in this particular way, or you're struggling with pricing, or you're struggling with this, that we could actually create tracks. So go to this first, then go do this, then go do this. That you can create these trails for people, you know, as you build up content, where there's probably an order for people to go through things in that would make sense to deal with a specific issue. So I'm probably going to create a space that has a series of these trails in them.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, okay, if you're struggling with this, go here, and it lays out all the steps that you might want to take to handle that using the existing content. And the other thing that helps staying in touch is when people join, if you can create some sort of autoresponder sequence.
Yes.
And that, let's say 2 or 3 months in, there's just a very short email saying, hey, how's it going? We'd love to hear. Please click reply and let us know. Something that opens up a conversation where you can start to hear honestly how it's going with people. You know, because the feedback that I've gotten on the critical side is just, it's overwhelming. And so, you know, if you hear that enough times, you just think, okay, what's overwhelming? Okay, there's too many calls. We got to trim that down. We got to have the paths be a lot simpler. And even that's one of the things I'm going to do. I'm going to be hiring a membership librarian because I have an insane amount of content, which nobody needs at all to have a membership. I just happen to have a lot of content.
Yeah.
Is realizing that I bet you a bunch of that content would be very helpful for another business coach, you know, who's like wanting to apprentice with me, learn how to be do the marketing for hippies approach, but it's not that useful for members. So one is I'm probably going to strip some of that out, put that in a apprenticeship space for business coaches. The other thing is So one of the things we did for the first 3 years, I don't know if I'm going to continue doing it. I think I've sort of paused it for now, but is we would, for the weekly calls, we'd timestamp them, and then we would divvy it up. So there were, from one weekly call, we might get 10 videos out of it.
Yeah.
And those are all, very specific, like working with Bill on his sales letter. But I'm going to have and so then each of those becomes its own article in Mighty Networks. But as you can imagine, 3 years, that's, let's say, at least 150 weekly calls plus bonus calls. Let's just call it 200 times, let's say conservatively, we get 5 videos out of each. So then that's,
a lot.
that's 1,000 videos just there. So one of the things I'm going to do this year is get a librarian to go through. And let's say we worked with Bill. He came back 6 times to work on the same sales letter, right? Kept bringing it back, a new version of it. We're going to find all those videos, put them in one article as a kind of case study or story.
Nice.
And that'll probably then go in the apprenticeship section. So then it's like you can follow Bill through his whole journey. Here's the first time he brought it, second time, and you can see the progress. So, if you're a business coach wanting to learn it. And then that also declutters the membership, which addresses the concern of overwhelm.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a huge decluttering that we're going to do.
I love it. One thing that you wouldn't have time to do that I do is when members join, I give them a 15-minute onboarding laser focused coaching session. And that's helpful for me to prescribe their first 3 steps of like understanding where they're at, what their intentions are, what needs they have. So for somebody that maybe you're not at the scale that Tad's at right now, you could do that 15-minute call. And then you could say, like, here's your first 3 courses or trainings or articles or things to go do. Once you're done those, let me know. We'll give you the next pieces. And that's been great for me because my membership, it's a different price point. It's meant to be more intimate with how we're doing it. And so I can do those onboarding calls with people. And I also, the way that it works inside the space is like, there's a customized approach for each individual that I'm following their journey and checking up on them to give them the next step once they've completed the first 3 steps that I laid out for them. So for somebody that's like at a smaller scale, that is a way that you could do it, is just include in their first month, they get that 15-minute onboarding call. As far as onboarding emails goes, those first 30 days of bringing people into your community are essential. So we always do 7 emails in the first 7 days. And in those first 7 days, you're showing them a different part of the onboarding process that is all listed in your Start Here page, but whoever reads a Start Here page from top to bottom. So you're bringing them in with RSVPing for the events. What's their first course? What are the first materials? How are you getting them to introduce themselves? All that sort of stuff is essential. And then sending 1 or 2 other community related emails per week for that first month, especially because people already have the addiction to checking Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or wherever their go-to spots are. And you have to re-entrain them to come back to your space so that your space becomes the new well that they're returning to. And that's a challenging thing. And it takes those daily emails to get them to make this more of a habit of like, oh, I wonder what's happening inside the Marketing for Hippies community. I'm going to go in and check it out today.
Yeah, the onboarding piece is something that I feel like we're still really dialing, but we've got a number of pieces that I think are pretty good. So first of all, I agree, the welcome series, just the regular emails right away, breaking it into bite-sized steps. Mighty Networks has that great checklist when people join. There's, they have the checklist keeps appearing until they check the things off, which I think is very helpful. We in my membership, I welcome everyone personally. I send them a message, but there's a lot of cut and paste. Hey, welcome, good to have you. What do you do? Where are you from? If they haven't listed that in their profile, and then I'll ask them. I'm always curious how they heard about it, which is a good question to ask. How did you hear about this membership? What marketing's working?
Yeah.
And in my case, it's almost always following you for years on YouTube or Instagram, and I was on your newsletter, and it just felt like the right time. It's usually something like that. And then I'll say, where are you most stuck? Just so I can direct you to the most useful thing. And then I can send them directly, to something very specific. And then there's a a little message saying, hey, cool, thank you so much. If you have any other questions, reach out to the administrator, the coordinator of the membership. Here's the link. Make sure you go through the start here thing, etc. And then also, so I welcome people, but also one of the membership coordinators is engaging in a much more robust conversation with them. I think there's like 10 points to it. So send something, get a response, send the next piece, get a response. So they're engaging in that. We're also, for the semesters, as people are being onboarded for that, in that first week, we're going to have week or two, there's going to be like 6 30-minute group sessions that people can come to, just welcome, meet each other. Let's just tour you through the thing, in different times for different time zones. So I don't think we've really perfected the onboarding, but I think it's so vital, because if they come on and they're overwhelmed with everything, it's just a bad way to start, and then they don't use it. They just start drowning in it, and they're not going to stick around as long.
Yeah.
But if they can get a good welcome, they can be oriented to where the things are that they need. I just think they're more likely to stick around a little bit longer, because they don't feel lost, they don't feel overwhelmed. It's like when you went to the first day of high school, a new school, and it was so big and overwhelming, you didn't know where anything was, and how good it is if somebody can just say, hey, let me show you around. And they walk you around the school. If you get a bit of a tour, you're at, and you meet some of the people. It's so important. And speaking of that, because I couldn't do a 15-minute call with everybody who joins. I get 60 new people joining in a semester, and then it would be a lot. And so it's an important question to ask yourself. I think one of the most fundamental questions if you're going to start a membership, how many people do you want? Is there a maximum number? In my case, I don't know if there's a maximum number. Maybe that'd be around 500. What I've got is fairly scalable, but and then if it's going to be smaller, okay, is this bringing in the money you want? Are you charging an amount that actually feels sustainable for you? Or over time, are you going to just resent your people and become bitter about it because you've hit this cap, of income? So you really have to, I think that through. How many people do we want? How much money per person? And once you figure that out, then it's okay, how do we host these people as well as possible? How do we give them that kind of welcome and the kind of experience that they're looking for? Nobody just wants to feel invisible like a number when they join. And so the bigger it gets, the bigger a team you're going to need, the more support you're going to need to just make sure that everyone's getting their questions answered. Having a coordinator hired to just read through the feeds and be responding, encouraging people, cheering people on, that at least there's one person in the membership that sees their comments, that it's not invisible, I think is an important thing.
Yeah, those are great tips. Are there any specific marketing strategies that you're leading to fill your membership?
Aside from the semesters, I do the free first Thursdays. So I recommend this for a lot of people. Basically, you do a free, why didn't I call it free first Fridays? It's better alliteration.
So many F's there, it would be great.
It would have been better. Doing a free coaching call. So I do that once a month, first Thursday of every month, and it's 90 minutes. The two provisos, people are told in the registration and at the very beginning of the call, we will record this and put it on YouTube publicly, so anything you say is going to be shared. Number two, there'll be a 5-minute shameless plug for the membership in it. And so that's what happens. So number one, it gives me free content for YouTube that I can put up, but it also gives me a chance to share the membership. And key little pro tip, don't wait until the end, because you'll have less people at the end. So somewhere half an hour in, you're probably at your peak of a 90-minute call. You do the shameless plug then. And it doesn't have to take long. It's no high pressure or anything. It's just, okay, so if you like this and you want to do this more often, we do this once a week in my membership. It's kind of like this. And here's what else you get. Here's a little tour through. The other thing that's very helpful that I started doing in the UK, this is so simple, but it helped, is asking people to share on social media during the call. So just, hey, during this call, if some people wonder, can I take photos or record? And I'm okay. Just go right ahead. And here's my Instagram handle. So I have a little slide that I show in my webinars too, that I also do. I'm just doing that all the time now. It's like, it makes a difference. And at the end of my workshop, when I was in the last half hour, I'd say, it's not too late. All of that glory can still be yours. And so people would laugh, but people would do it. And so I would get workshop of 30, 40 people. I would have, I don't know, 5 or 10 people sharing it on their social media. And then I was having people at other cities come and say, oh, I found out about you 3 days ago because my friend shared, and I went and looked on your thing, and and here I am. So it's one of those things of, why not?
Yeah,
you could grow your social media following. If you've got a, what it could just be directing, say, look, hey, if you can share this, and here's the link to use to my freebie, or just direct them to my website. You can tag me in that way. But if you could share on social media about this call happening, and then they just take a photo of the screen or whatever and share it up, easy.
yeah.
So I'm doing that for all those. But yeah, the free first Thursdays is one of the other things. Email. I'm trying to think if there's that. Well, I do my puttering sessions and one-on-one coaching. I don't actually bring it up that much, but sometimes it feels like a fit. And I say, I've got this membership. This might be, of interest to you. And certainly then live workshops, when I've done the live workshops. There's that. And then something I'll be doing this year is getting into doing the hour-long signature workshops, Bradley Morris. And at those, that'll be the main thing that I'm plugging.
Yeah.
Is, hey, if you liked what you heard here and you want more, I'll probably direct them. I've got a starter kit on my website. That's the other thing. There's so many ways I'm promoting my membership.
This is great.
So, but
no wonder you're pulling in 30 to 40K.
Right. So, with the signature workshop, of course, you could do a plug, but I think I'll be directing people more to the starter kit, which has the full footage of my day-long workshop. It's a very curated marketing for hippies 101 experience. Because in that also then directs people to the membership, and it just has people on my email list where they're going to hear about the free first Thursdays. It directs people to my Facebook group. I guess that's another place when the semesters are coming up, that I'm promoting it. So yeah, there's a number of ways, and it's good to think about what are all the ways that you could be connecting people to it. The place I don't do it is on social media for the most part. I don't, once a quarter, I'll put something up like, hey, I've got a membership and here it is, or here's a different facet of it. I just know that Instagram is not going to be the place where somebody signs up. So I don't lean on it. I don't rely on it. For me, if you're going to have social media, one of the main purposes of it, beyond just building a familiarity, trust, safety, they get to know you and your point of view, is to get them on your email list. If you can use your social media in such a way that it grows your email list, that is a fantastic use of your social media, because the email list is where they're going to hear about it, and or Facebook group or something like that, where you're in more regular contact. People do a lot better things with the Facebook group than I do in terms of engaging people. I'm just not that active in it. But that's what I couldn't remember right now.
And if you want to leave social media, then come to my Thriving in Business Without Social Media Masterclass. Speaking of signature workshops, so my suggestion for all of you out there, as you've probably heard me harp on for quite a while, but you might be coming from Tad's audience and not quite have heard this as many times, is every single coach or creator, teacher, people that are offering workshops, transformational experiences and services need a signature workshop, a 60-minute free workshop that is like the gateway into your life's work and your world and all the offerings that you have. That is like the best entry point for somebody new coming in, to introduce them to your backstory, your philosophy, give them their first breakthrough experience, and then call them to adventure to come with you. And I did my Thriving in Business Without Social Media. I accidentally discovered the power of signature workshops, of like just doing the same workshop again and again and again on other people's virtual stages, thanks to Tad. Hosted me like a year and a half ago or whatever it was, and we had like 1,100 people register for this workshop on Thriving in Business Without Social Media. So then I just kept refining it and then touring it and developing templates and media pages and all the things to make it as easy and plug and play as possible. And so if there's one strategy that you do out of all the strategies you could do that would be something I would be sinking time into every week, is the outreach and cultivation of relationships and developing that particular workshop. If you need help, then you can come be supported by that. That's what I do. And as far as like all the other things, aside from a signature workshop, Tad, if you listed a bunch of things, what would be the one or two things for anybody out there that's like, I only have 2 hours a week for marketing? What do you suggest I do with that time?
For a membership?
For promoting their membership or promoting a service, their workshop that's coming up.
Oh my gosh, I'd say 3 come to mind right away. The most direct is one-on-one outreach. If you've got a membership, just consider, I mean, if you already have some nominal following, people have come to your workshops already, individual outreach is the most surefire thing. I mean, yes, also you can send group things, but it's amazing how different the response is when you send a DM to somebody, you text somebody, you email somebody, you call somebody.
Yeah.
That is hands down the most reliable thing. Second is your email list. That is the workhorse of your marketing. That so stay in touch with people via email. Social media could be turned off. You could be canceled for your radical views at any point.
It's you hippies.
Yeah, so it's and they keep changing. They change their algorithm, they change the way they work. The functionality suddenly that you relied upon vanishes, whereas email is just email. And so sending direct emails to your list, making the offers, that's number 2. But number 3, I would agree with Bradley. Over the years, so I've been doing this for about 21 years now, and over those 21 years, the number one, first, if you're a service provider, the number one tool I've seen is what I used to call the intro workshop, the signature workshop, the free talk, the whatever you want to call it. Yeah, 1 hour that you can take online. If you're live, you could do it maybe a little bit longer because people aren't going to just vanish from the room like they would with Zoom.
Yeah.
But some sort of a just intro, a taster where they can get a sense of who you are, your vibe. Do they like you? Do they like your point of view? Do they resonate? Do they want to take another step closer? I've never seen anything that works better than it in my own membership, as I've been. It's funny. So Bradley started doing it, I guess, in some way as a result of things that happened with us. And then I've been re-inspired and telling members about it, sending them to Bradley's thing. And I'm hearing so many reports of people saying, I just did an intro workshop, my signature talk, and I got 2 new clients from it. So I don't know of anything better. If you're wanting clients, if you got a membership, this is how they get a taste of you.
Yeah.
Live. And of course, doing it live rather than pre-recorded, because if it's pre-recorded, they just listen and they, turn it off. But if they're live and they're engaged in some way, maybe they can ask you a question. It's a much better deal. And the difference between a signature workshop versus, let's say, Free First Thursdays, there's no structure to Free First Thursdays. I'm really freestyling. I'm just, whoever comes, I answer what their questions are. That's an entirely different thing than me saying, here's the kind of 30,000 foot view on how I see things. You're coming to me because you have XYZ problem. Okay, here's my take on it in brief. In short, this is why I think you haven't achieved that result. This is what I think you're missing. Here's the blind spots that most people have. This is the approach that I would suggest or recommend. Here's a little taste that can let you know that this is for real. And if you want more, here's where you go. That just works on a million levels. Getting to know you, getting to know your point of view, live, being engaged. It just ticks all the boxes. It doesn't take a lot of time. And as Bradley's saying, doing the same workshop over and over again. If you want to burn out in your business, just do a new workshop every 2 weeks and keep, well, I've got to do something new and fresh. You don't. You take the same thing in front of other people's audiences once a month or once a quarter. You can offer it to your audience. I mean, this is Gemma Gilbert. Her thing is, who's fantastic, GemmaGilbert.com. She's great. But she'll do Facebook ads to, I think it's a monthly signature workshop. From the signature workshop, she then books people to a one-on-one call if it feels like a fit. And from that, if it's a fit, they join her programs. And that's her whole, very simple.
So simple.
But if you take any piece of that out, it doesn't work. If you take the signature workshop out, if she tried to do Facebook ads to a direct conversation with her, it's so unsafe for people. The risk is so high. And the signature workshop is one of those things I think just takes the risk down to the floor, because now they know you. Maybe they have a chance to ask you a question. So I agree. It's not saying I teach a lot of the fundamentals that turn into signature workshops, the ethics piece, niching, point of view, business model that sort of inform. But Bradley's doing it. So I suppose I could have come up with something on this, but I love what Bradley's doing so much. I like his structure of it. It's very simple. So yes, I think that would be number 3 for me as a tactic in terms of filling stuff up.
And the templates are the beautiful thing about it. It's like you get to design the workshop, but then it's like your email outreach template that you send to all the hosts, your follow-up email when they say yes to booking you is a copy paste. Here's the calendar link. Here's the media page to get all your pre-written emails and social media posts and all the things. It's like it becomes this plug and play part of your business. I was telling you earlier, I did 20 workshops last year, grew my email list by 4,000 people doing one workshop. It was roughly, 20 hours of teaching time, maybe 10 hours of actual like back and forth and preparation, all that sort of stuff, and maybe an extra 10 hours of fine tuning, improving, dialing in systems, etc. So there's like 40 hours of actual time spent to grow the email list by 4,000 people. When was the last time social media did that for you without spending a fortune on social media and only spending 40 hours?
And the thing I would say too is, and I got this from Ross O'Loughlin, it's just good to remember most people don't buy today, they buy tomorrow. 15% of people will maybe buy in the moment, 85% will buy later. So when you do your signature workshop, there'll be some people that sign up for your membership or whatever your offering is. Most will not in the moment. But if they then join your email list or follow you on social media or whatever, and you can continue to build a relationship, there will come a moment when the time is right. And they join. And them having seen you live or been at a live workshop with you, there's just, I think, a bit more of a connection. There's more of a reason to be on the email list. I agree. If you are a service provider and you're not doing signature workshops on the regular, you're missing out hugely. You could immediately be growing your list, be getting clients within weeks of doing this.
My suggestion would be like if you're spending 5 or 10 hours on social media every week, scrolling, posting, making content, etc., replace that time with creating and touring your signature workshop. And in a year from now, you're going to be so much further along than just throwing content at the endless wall of Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever you're hanging out.
I do a lot on social media, mostly Instagram. And for me, that's a long game. This is a awareness building, all this. But if money is tight for you and you think I need to generate a lot of income in the next 6 to 12 months, my advice would be stop all social media. Just put up a little thing as your last post saying, I'm just going on hiatus from social media for the next 6 months to a year. I won't really be here, or I'll be posting extremely sporadically. And basically put it on pause. And as Bradley's saying, you take the time that you would have, and the money you would have spent on that and on ads for that, all that, if you took that and invested that into signature workshops, it's just dramatically better. There's no doubt. That's what I've seen over 21 years of doing this.
Your intro workshop was how we met. Came to your intro workshop.
It's true. So there we go. We started on memberships, ended on signature workshops. But yes, if you do have a membership, you've got to maybe this is the way to close it is, okay, so if you have a membership, one of the things you're going to deal with is just the attrition. You'll make the membership better. And you'll have people stuck around for 2 months, and now it's 3 months, and you might even be so good that people stick around for a year. Okay, but then they go. So built into that membership model is the need to bring new people in. And that you can't be passive about that. You really have to figure out how you're going to get people into it. And again, the one-on-one outreach when you can, but sometimes you may hit the bottom of the barrel. Your email list will be huge for that because these are people who've already opted in. But then to even fill up your email list and to be reaching people directly, the signature workshop is still probably going to be your best way to do it, because you're not going to do Facebook ads directly into a membership where they're paying so much a month. They're going to need some contact, I think, with you and familiarity with your point of view. That's more than can be conveyed in what Instagram allows.
One thing that's been working with me that I'll just add on top of all this is like, if you do have a bit of extra time to, like, if you stop doing so much social, you've got some time. I do 2 hours every Friday, and I do have 6 spots for these laser focused coaching sessions. So I've had the majority of those have come from people who have been on my email list for a while, and they have never bought from me. And so they come, they get a free 15-minute coaching session. I stagger them 20 minutes apart in case they go a few minutes over. It's just 2 hours every Friday. And I send that link out. I promote it on my website. I promote it in my newsletters. I promote it when I teach my signature workshop, first come, first serve. That's the same link that I give people when they join my membership, that's the link that they're going to book with if they want their free coaching session with me. And that's been a great way, people buying my one-off courses, joining my membership. I've had a couple like higher end projects unfold through that. So if all you have right now is your email list and you're trying to get a program going or a membership going, offer for a limited time only to start as an experiment. Mine was only meant to be a 3-month experiment because it's been so great and I've had so much fun with it. I'm continuing on with it this year, but do a 15-minute laser focus coaching session and put that out to your email list. And then the next step might be the invitation, if they're a fit when you go through that coaching session, to join whatever program or membership or whatever it is that you have.
Last thought, I got this from Ross O'Loughlin, conversionengineering.co. On the one-on-one outreach is, if you have people joining your email list, or you have a Facebook group, people joining, or people are following you on social media, you can also directly message them and start a conversation. And that conversation will be almost identical every time, very similar, but just, yeah, hey, what do you do? What has you follow me? Yeah, where are you struggling most? Hey, would you like some help with that? Here's what I've got, no pressure. Ross O'Loughlin has a bit of a format for this, but
Cool.
without any format, even, you could just start engaging them in a fairly directed conversation, just to see, is this a fit? Is this the kind of person I could help? Do I have something that might help them? And then a real no pressure, just like, would you like to know more? I've got something I think might be able to help you. Here's the info. Why don't you go check it out? Let me know what you think. Feel free to ask me any questions. So, if you're on social media, you can do it there. You have a Facebook group, you can do it there. If you have an email list, you could be doing it there. And you don't even have to do it. You could be hiring somebody to just engage these conversations. But in the beginning, you could do, if you're in the early days and you're only getting like 5 people joining your email list every once in a while, why not just send a personal, hey, thanks for joining? Because that one-on-one conversation will just do so much more. Will impress people. They won't don't believe that they just heard from you directly.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you can make an offer if there is an offer to make, or that may turn to, hey, you know what? I don't do that. Bradley does this kind of thing on social media. If that's your question, you should go talk to him. So it doesn't even always have to be a plug for yourself or end in a pitch. It might end in a referral to somebody else, or like, hey, you're on the wrong list. This isn't the space for you. In the early days, we just have more time than money.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of clients, so I've got some space. So one-on-one engaging conversations. 2, work your list, work your email list, both in delivering value, but also in, hey, we got this thing starting. Anyone interested, let us know. And 3, signature workshops to fill it up. This is what's going to keep your membership going, I would say.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. If you have more questions, respond to this and we could do a follow-up call as well. If you're building a mighty network and need support, come check out Majik Media. That's one of the services that we offer. If you're looking for support with your marketing, niching, making some fast cash this year, go check out marketingforhippies.com. Regardless of what you do, make sure you make it magical in the world, because the world needs your magic.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks.